Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning he'll consider a military response if Russia feels threatened by NATO. According to local media outlets, Putin told his top military commanders Tuesday that the West is to blame for the tensions over Ukraine. Putin said Moscow will take proportionate military countermeasures to unfriendly steps if the West continues what he called its clearly aggressive line. Watchers say Putin's remarks signal.
History teaches us that men and nations only behave wisely once they have exhausted all other alternatives. That's by Abba Ibn, who's an Israeli statesman. Hello everybody, welcome to the Arbor Crawfish channel. I'm your host Sankara. As you saw from the clip, Russia just put the U.S. on notice. Russia is concerned, and they've been concerned for a long time now, that the U.S. will grant Ukraine NATO membership and will put intermediate ballistic missiles near its borders, which will limit the time it takes from fire to targeting Russia. Russia has been concerned about this for a while. And right now, it seems they are done. They are ready to take steps to correct the action. Before doing that, though, on December 17, the Russians sent the U.S. proposals. 2 documents signed as a contract, a legally binding contract, telling the U.S. the steps that the U.S. must take to lower the tensions. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov stated that the proposals in the documents are not a menu from which the U.S. can pick and choose. President Putin spoke to his generals and put them on notice that they should prepare the military for conflict. If you study Russia as I've done, they are very patient. They do not beat their chest. They do not issue idle threats. They are very patient. In fact, it's because of their reasonableness. That's why the U.S. messes with them a lot. Because they know that the U.S. know that it can go behind closed doors and iron out things. The Russian, in this case, they are done. They are fed up. When Russia hit their red line, if they give you one warning, that's it. Or sometimes they won't even give you warning. They'll put you in your place. That's what happened to Georgia in 2008 or 2007. That's what happened again when the U.S. supported the coup in Ukraine. That's what happened in Crimea. That's what also happened in Syria. Russians got into Syria, and when they were ready to start their operations, they gave the U.S. 1 hour to get its special services men from in harm's way. 1 hour. That's it. Just went to them, told them, said, look, we're about to begin military operations. If you got men in the area, get them out of there. You got 1 hour. That's it. They don't mess around. The U.S. keep playing this game. And maybe they think everybody is Africa. But the Russians are not playing. I want to go over a couple of things that President Putin pointed out first. He pointed out that during the collapse of the Soviet Union, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the CIA and the Pentagon had people all within the Russian government. They were monitoring Russian nuclear weapons. Doing all that, with Russia opened up their books to them. Still, they went and supported terrorists to try to break the country apart. So the point he was trying to make here is that these people, they intend to destroy us. He also went into a historical point about Woodrow Wilson, where Woodrow Wilson said the world is not comfortable with Russia so large. They would rather there's a country in Siberia, an independent country in Siberia, and then there are maybe four or five other countries in the European part of Russia. So he's pointing out to his military generals, say, look, these people intend us harm. That's how Russia is seeing it. The U.S. likes to posture. Like to posture a lot. The Russians don't posture. So this here is dangerous times. Dangerous times on the Grand Chessboard. Things could go kinetic. Another point that President Putin made, and this one was interesting to me because, President Putin said that during the Maidan uprising in Ukraine, he negotiated with the U.S., President Barack Obama on the phone, and Barack Obama, and they all agreed. Yanukovych was going to step down after his term, which was just a couple of months. And then the opposition had the votes to win the elections anyway and take over. But still, the U.S. did not want that. It wanted to push them out. Now, this is interesting to me because I had watched a film where Nikolai Patrushev, the Russian, I think he's FSB, he's the chief of the FSB right now, or was the chief of the FSB, when he made a statement that Russia did not expect things to deteriorate. And at the time I was thinking, I'm like, maybe that's just intelligence speak. He don't want to say the truth. Because I knew when the U.S. was telling Yanukovych not to bring troops to the street, I knew they were going to up the ante. And I'm just a peon. So I was wondering why the Russians acting like they didn't know. But now it's clear to me they didn't know. They didn't suspect that things were going to get that bad because they had negotiated an agreement with President Obama. Makes you wonder now why Putin never liked Obama. He also pointed out that the U.S. is secretly building up forces and amping up Ukraine. They even deliver chemical components so they can go and commit a false flag operations in Ukraine. And so those are things that are worrying to the Russians. And he pointed out the different U.S. unilateral actions, starting from Yugoslavia, going all the way to Syria, Iraq, Syria. And he pointed out that the U.S., when international law serves it, it preaches international law. When international law does not serve it, it discards international law. So Putin is saying this time they're done with this. Russia pointed out that the U.S. must come back with their response pretty quickly. And if the response is not favorable, Russia would take reciprocal steps in military and military technical reciprocal steps. So things going to go kinetic. Some of the proposals that Russia pointed and wanted the U.S. to agree to is one, that Ukraine, first of all, that NATO will not advance any further to the east of where they were in 1997. So NATO, so Ukraine, Georgia will not be part of NATO. Russia told this to George Bush before, that Ukraine, as you know it, will not exist if NATO ever went there. So they're just putting teeth on that now. Another thing is said that the U.S. must commit, guarantee, again, legal guarantees, that they would not put weapons on Russia's borders. And for all the countries that were not part of NATO in 1997, all the new countries that became part of NATO in 1997 that were previously in the Soviet sphere of influence or part of the Soviet Union, they should not put troops in those countries as well. Russia is basing some of this on the legal document that was created during the creation of the OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the Helsinki Final Act document, in which it states that security is indivisible for all, meaning that everyone is entitled to security, but one person's security cannot be enhanced at the expense of another person's security. So, these are what have been put forward to the U.S. administration. And I really just say the U.S. because when the U.S. says how high the rest of NATO would jump, they are nothing but tabakis. Now, in the mainstream media, all the nonsense that's going on, the pontificating on what Putin said, and he got a bad economy and he's trying to show up his base and all the stuff, thinking in terms of how U.S. politicians act, how everything about them is about posturing. They better be careful. This Russia doesn't play. They set the red lines. They don't set it often, but when they set it, it's hard. They don't move it. And they will respond properly. They got all the tools to respond. Russia is not particularly afraid of the nonsense training that the U.S. training Ukraine. Let's be frank. What are those tactical training going to do? First of all, when the U.S. trained forces, they gave them the basics. The U.S. never trained other forces, except maybe within NATO countries. Outside forces, they don't train them to U.S. standards. That's just a fact. And then you're training them only on tactical skill set. If you have tactical skill set, you can be able to defend a particular area, maybe attack a little small area. But you need operational. You need to have operational skills. You need to have strategic talent as well. Without those, you can do nothing. And I've watched the Ukrainians fight the Eastern Ukrainians. They can't fight. The Ukrainian army can't fight. And nothing's going to change. Having javelin is not going to help Ukraine because Ukraine was the one using the tanks, not the separatists. And all those nice drones that worked in Nagorno-Karabakh and worked in Libya and worked in just recently in Ethiopia, They're not going to work against Russia. Panzer S-1 is going to take them all down. So the U.S. needs to stop this stuff because this is getting dangerous. Do not poke the bear. Otto von Bismarck once said that. It's not a good idea to poke the bear. Like he said, I can poke the bear. I have no problem poking the bear. The problem is, what do I do when he comes out? How do I get him back in his tiger? No, for a patient man, Putin being patient. To be frank, the Russian military been done with the U.S. nonsense a long time, and been wanting to put them in check. But Putin is patient. So for a patient man, this saying in Liberia or probably in West Africa where is appropriate. It said, when the blind man tells you he's going to stone you, he already has the stone in his hands. He's not messing around. So anyway, that was my little analysis on the Grand Chessboard. I'll be bringing you production on the Grand Chessboard going forward. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. I'm out.